Hi, I'm Jim Knotts, President and CEO of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Welcome to today's virtual reading of the names. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. As part of our commemoration, we'll host an in-person reading of the names at the wall from November 7th through 10th, 2022, when all 58,281 names on the wall will be read aloud. In the lead up to that event, we'll be reading names each day online while sharing the photos of these heroes. For our daily virtual reading, the names of the service members will be read by month and day of death between the years 1956 and 1975 in alphabetical order for the given day. We apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Know that our readers are doing their best to honor these service members. We hope you'll listen and watch each day and share with others as we remember and honor those who gave their lives during the Vietnam War.
Odell Bernard Pate Acker, Merritt Adams, Alan Paul Alfield, Juan Almanza, John J. Artega, Leo Curtis Auckland, Bruce Arnold Bain, Dennis R. Balfour, Jesse Lewis Barkley, Alexander Lorenzo Barney, Leo Allen Bauer, Charles Lewis Bernard Jr., Thomas Melvin Bina, Ronald Roy Blome, Ralph M. Boggess III, Jimmy Wayne Boggs, Dennis Lewis Bowman, Arthur Bailey Bowman, Jr., James Allen Branson, James Porter Braswell, Jr., Dillard Brock, David Harold Brown, Lonnie Brown, Jr., David Theodore Bryant, Albert Michael Butzko, Ralph William Burns, James Bruce Caldwell, Wilson Campbell, Scott Marshall Carpenter, Daniel Lee Carr, Glenn Carter, Forrest Clifford Childs, Alexander Chisholm, Leroy Jason Cornwell III, Carl Henry Koch, Woodrow Charles Cronkite, Dayton Alonzo Daniels, Rex Allen Davis, Leroy Davis, Jr., Danny Joseph Dolan, Richard Joseph Drevier, Carol Gorham Elam, Herman Evans, Patrick Dennis Fay, David Thomas Fellows, Richard Otis Fisher, Lander Ray Fraley, Robert Joseph Gall, Daniel F. Gallagher, William Raymond Gast, Edward Ray Gayton, Ralph Joseph Giordano, George Sherman Good, John Frederick Greiling, Ronald Gordon Hack, Charles Edward Hancock, Alan Joseph Herman, Lee Charles Hitchcock, Richard Lake Holycross, Charles William Horvath, Lester Hu, Jr., Donald Raymond Huey, Bruce Huntington, Charles Mahalona Iopa,
Stephen Lee Irvin, Lee Irving, Joseph Earl Jackson, Richard Lee Jernigan, Philip Dale Johnson, Kenneth Carl Johnson, Calvin Ray Johnson, Lloyd Ellis Jones, Edward Charles Kalina, Ronald Brian Kerner, Edward Ray Kynes, Glenn Edwards King, Thomas Wilford Knight, Thomas Albert Crispin, Robert Kroptovich, Thomas Earl Lang, Raymond Roland Lapointe, James Garfield Lawson, Britt P. Lemons, Herbert Linder III, George Leonard Lopez, Alfredo Lopez Jr., Peter Thomas Lundberg, Howard Henry Lucier, Richard Thomas Lynch, Johnny Boyd Machow, Nicholas Marino III, Patrick Eugene McBride, John Thomas McDaniel, Michael John McGovern Jr., Thomas John McMahon, Alan James Meisheid, George Frederick Meister, Harold Eugene Mosley, Stephen Owen Musselman, Simon Adolph Naquin, Thomas Clifton Newkirk, Samuel John Nunn, Larry Ray Palmer, Harold Michael Patinode, Michael J. D. Pelch, William Frank Pelton, George William Pepe, Donald Roger Peterson, Jr., Walter Leon Pointer, Michael Lee Poletti, Juan Portas, Raymond George Potter, Donald Ray Pritchard, Eric Rudolph Radke, David Lee Reasoner, Charles Michael Reed, Thomas Glenn Richmond, Merle Eldon Robertson, Jeffrey Terry Rowe, Hulan Dwayne Rowland, Martin Angel Rosales, Bernie Rosales Jr., Ernesto Victor Salazar, James Joseph Sansone, Anthony Peter Sawicki, John Melville Scott Jr., David Scott Selden, James Wesley Smith,
James Robert Smith, Timothy N. Smith, Jr., Pete William Sobacki, Richard Lee Spalding, Fred David St. George, Donald Eugene Stepp, Paul John Stewart, Alfred Lee Stonehouse, Terry Lee Stout, William Byron Stutes, Lawrence Byron Tatum, Edgar Wayne Thompson, Edmund Francis Thornell, Stephen Lee Trogber, Peter Stephen Tyerka, Charles Waljeski, Thomas Charles Walsh, Richard Alfred Wardrobe, Wayne Allen Watts, Dennis William Ware, Paul Gary Weigand, James Edward West, Henry Marvin Wharton Jr., Jerry Dean White, Donald Merle White Jr., William Mahone Wilkerson, Jimmy Darrell Williams, James Clare Wilson, Lucius Winfield, Michael Ferdinand Wolfe, Louis Edward Wood, Lawrence Oliver Woodson, Henry James Zeikert,